Hello guys, finally we are reached at uh, Paris Eiffel Tower. హాయ్ గైస్, మేమందరం ప్యారిస్కి వచ్చినాము. మా ఫ్రెండ్స్ మేమందరం కలిసి చూడొచ్చు. ఈఫిల్ టవర్ పట్టుకొద్దాం పోయి.
You the best highlights of this city. Of course, you have on your left one of the most famous highlights of this city, l'Arc de Triomphe. Obelisk came from the temple of Luxor in Egypt. If you're going to one day, if you have planned to go to Luxor, the temple of Luxor, we see only just one obelisk. But let me remind you that at the first times, this temple had two obelisks, and this one was the second one that came here in 1836. You know, it was the king that inaugurated this monument was Louis Philippe of Orleans.
చేస్తాను ఇప్పటికి చాలా తీసిన.
Ladies and gentlemen, now just here, you know the sun, you know that one, that name comes from, a very
బాబా అది షేర్ చేయడం ఎట్లారా? వీడియోలు చూసిన దాంట్లో అది షేర్ చేసుకోవడం ఎట్లా మరి? ఎట్లా మరి? సరే, ఓకే, రైట్ రా. ఏమైంది? చెప్తా ఇప్పుడు, మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి ఫోన్ చేస్తా, ఓకేనా? తీసుకొచ్చి ఇస్తా అని చెప్పిండ్రా. నేను చెప్తా ఇప్పుడే, నీకు ఏమని చెప్తా, ఓకేరా?
19 that was still in danger, in the 19th century, because after this cathedral in the 19th century in 1830, but someone stood up and said, no, we have to save it. But just before, have a look at this beautiful cathedral on your left. An example of the Gothic style, Notre Dame de Paris, ordered by Louis VII. On the picture, number 5. Number 5, the king that ordered that, of course, that very famous cathedral. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, in 1830, he was the one. A man, of course, wanted to stop it from. So that's why I hate them. I hate them so much. So here you have, of course, here we have a lot of visitors, Ugabas, Bulgaria as well. So this avenue. When this avenue came, it was in the 17th century. I will show you the first part of this avenue is further. We're going to be layering in. I want to start in scene of this avenue that came under Louis the 15th. So I think you received like a picture with a picture in your WhatsApp group with some pictures on it, and in a few seconds you will see a very famous place. For example, it was a place where some games, some Olympic games were hosted inside Le Grand Palais, the Great Palace, with the glass floor at the top, and you will see the French flag as well at the top on your right. Can you? And then that one came with the one in front of it, a building in front of it, Le Petit Palais, the small palace, the the big palace, and the great palace, and the small palace. And just next to the Le Grand Palais, the one that you have on your right now, they store, the jewelries, for example, of Eugenia de Montijo. Eugenie, the Empress Eugenie, she was born in Spain, in Madrid, and she was the wife of Napoleon III. They've stolen the crown of this one, and as well the necklace of and the earrings of the second wife of Napoleon I, Marie-Louise. It was inside the Apollo Gallery, and we are going to pass by this gallery. I will show you where they robbed those jewelries. I hope that during your stays and the Mona Lisa, the Venice of Milo, as well the Winged Victory of Samothrace, of course a very famous one. And then on your right, can you see that there is a golden statue? This woman on your right, or the golden statue one, it was the statue of Saint Joan of Arc, Jeanne d'Arc, a very famous woman that liberated Orleans during the 100 Years' War. And on the left you have a very famous garden. Can you look at the picture number 9? Picture number 9, ladies and gentlemen. Here you have a very famous queen during the Renaissance period, the wife of Henry II, here. And actually we are on the Rivoli Street, and the Rivoli Street very famous for why Rivoli? Because Rivoli during the Italian campaign of Napoleon, if you want to have a picture of Napoleon, you have a picture of this one in picture number 3. Okay, number 3, picture number 3, you have the eagle Napoleon. And Napoleon, he was a man of victories, of wars, and Rivoli, the Battle of Rivoli was one of his victories. That's why they decided to name that one, dedicate that battle, of course, and name that street behind that battle. But the architects of those of that, the one behind the Arc de Triomphe, and those two here with the Rivoli Street, Fontaine and Percier. Again, now we're just going to get back to this very famous place, the Concorde Square. Not the front facade of the Louvre that you have on your left, but the back facade. And the back facade was made by Claude Perrault. Claude Perrault, he was a very famous architect. A very famous architect, but his brother, he's more famous than the architect, the one behind the back facade of the Louvre, his brother Claude Perrault. His brother was Charles Perrault. Have you heard about Charles Perrault, maybe? Okay, perfect. So, just before resuming my story, you will see, we're going to pass, you will see on your left, the place where, the truck was of, those criminals, stealing, the jewels. It was in 1, 2, and 3 on your left. It was just here on your left, the truck, that they used to rob, those jewelries on your left. Okay, it was there, the Apollo Gallery. And can you see now the back facade on your left? That's the back facade of the Louvre, and even behind on the other side you see some columns. Those were made by Claude Perrault. And his brother, was Charles Perrault. I was talking about Charles Perrault. Charles Perrault, you can find him on in the picture number 14. Number 14, you have Charles Perrault. He's very famous, just like, for example, the green brothers. How? Because Charles Perrault, he was a writer during the 17th century. And he's the one behind the stories, for example, of a beautiful lady but cursed to sleep for the eternity. And then one day, a prince came to save her. What kind of story do we have here? The Sleeping Beauty. He's the one behind the Sleeping Beauty, Charles Perrault. But also, Charles Perrault is the one behind the story of a small and little girl wearing a red boots as well. Here on your left now you have a theater, and there is a theater, very famous one, a theater, and that theater, ladies and gentlemen, is very famous because in every October of every year you have a very famous ceremony, the Ballon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or ceremony, of course. But now, just forget about the Ballon d'Or, Ronaldo, Messi. Let's forget about that. Middle age, ladies and gentlemen. And now, you're about to see the most famous cathedral in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, rising from the ashes since 15th of April 2019. The building that I'm talking about, the house, for example, of Candido, Notre Dame de Paris church. Now you can see it on your left, l'Église de la Madeleine, where Josephine Baker, what else? Let's see, Johnny Hallyday, very famous French singer. The funerals, it was inside. Now resting inside the Pantheon. Johnny Hallyday died. The funeral of this one was in 2017. We are just passing by the Olympia. You will see a red theater on your left in a few seconds. L'Olympia. The Olympia one, is the oldest theater, concert hall here in Paris. The oldest one. For example, Josephine Baker, she used to dance doing tours in Europe, Sweden, Milan, Paris, Germany as well. She went there. And the Austrian leader of the Third Reich, Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler came here in June 1914. And I will ask you to see the picture number 19. 19, we know that very famous picture when Adolf Hitler came here in Paris with that very famous picture. The first monument that he visited was the one on your left. His favorite, the most favorite monument of Adolf Hitler, L'Opéra Garnier, thanks to Charles Garnier, that you can see on the picture number 13. Charles Garnier, he used to call this monument the Temple of Apollo, because at the top of it you have Apollo. And when you have the German occupation just here, when you have the German occupation just here, a lot of shows of Richard Wagner. They used to perform here, the opera. A lot of music of Richard Wagner. This one, yes. So it was, the best place for Adolf Hitler, And then, I have a fun fact for you. Adolf Hitler, when he came here, the thing that he did, he then, when he came here, he made a tour for his own soldiers, just inside, because he knew everything by heart about this place. Very famous place. And then now we're going to just head towards one of the most famous avenues of Paris. See, that's still the same picture, number 7. You have the second one showing you that Napoleon III is giving a decree, a small piece of paper to Haussmann, Georges Eugène Haussmann. And then that tall man that you can see in the picture was the one behind those big boulevards one. You know, he's the news as well. He's the one that added those 12 and Napoleon III, and as well, you know, our architect, also one of the most famous ones. Let's play a game. We're going to, let's guess a typical building. You know, you can see a picture. You know, that one was Robert Badinter, the latest one to enter inside. He was the one that, you know, the abolition, you know, he stopped the official execution here in France in 1981. Robert Badinter. And here you have the Pantheon. But why? You know, this one first was a church ordered by Clovis the first king of France, that you can see on the picture 18. And you know, in the 18th picture, you know, number 18, you have Clovis. He's the one that ordered that church dedicated to Sainte Geneviève. Sainte Geneviève, she is the woman in the middle of the picture, 50. They were scared. She decided to stay in Paris and to pray, to resist against the hands of Attila, of course. Now you can see here on your left, again, the Pantheon, you know, almost 80 people, you know. 80 people inside, 7 women. You have her, you know her very famous Maria Skolodowska, Marie Curie. Marie Curie, she is inside as well, with her husband, Peter or Pierre Curie. You know, actually we are in the Latin Quarter. That's why you have a lot of, you know, libraries, places to study. You know, you have students over there because, you know, this place since the Middle Age, it was a place for universities. For example, you have the La Sorbonne, just here, at that place. La Sorbonne, the first and the oldest university in Europe from the Middle Age here. And now we're going to keep just straight because I want to show you something, guys. A very famous place, you know. A place, you know, that, you know, inspired, for example, André Le Nôtre in a few minutes, even in a few seconds. Because just in the middle you have a big building, a big palace, and this palace it's the Senate, you know, a parliament as well, the high chamber, you know, the parliament. Soufflot. And now you can see the Luxembourg Gardens. And on your left now you have, you know, of course, the Luxembourg Gardens. So open air museum, as you can see, with a lot of sculptures over there. Very beautiful. And this place was also, you know, often you know, if often a place of Afro-American people, you know, answering very well to the standards needed for those writers And that, you know, at that time in America it was very difficult, very hard. They were struggling a lot to live. The houseman style. Now, I have a very important church to show you guys. A very famous church where, you know, I was doing the same mistake before. But it's not the same revolution. Because at that time, Eugène Delacroix was not alive. He was not born during the first revolution. He was born, he was alive in the second one. On your right. 1, 2, 3. Now you can see that church. Saint-Sulpice, very famous church. And now let's join again our favorite river, the Seine River. Then the Rhone. I don't know what we say. How do we say in German? We have a very famous river between Strasbourg, for example, and Germany. Making like a borderline, a natural borderline between Germany and France. But I think maybe, if I'm not wrong, it's the Ruhr in Germany. In German. The Rhine, that's it. Le Rhin, the Rhine, that's it. I think the Ruhr is it's a region. Right? It's a region, that's it. And now we are just arriving in a very famous place of the 50s where James, it's a big pleasure to do this city tour when the traffic is not so busy as it is in the whole week. It's a big pleasure. It's so fluid. And you can see ladies taking pictures of that cafe on your left, Les Deux Magots, the green one, and on your right you have then the Saint-Germain-des-Prés Abbey, one of the oldest ones in Paris. There is a boat in the middle. Why we have a boat in the middle is because they used to navigate over the Seine River. They used to master that river. The king that you have in the 18th picture, the first king of France, Clovis the First, from the Frank tribe, France. That's why. Frank, France, he was the leader of the Frank tribe, coming from the north of France, near Germany. That's why. And then, the lyrium flower, looking like a sword. It's a flower, the lyrium flower, la fleur de lys. That one, is the symbol of the French monarchy. Why? Because the lyrium flower, as you can see, has 3 leaves, 3 feathers. As you can see, 3. The museum, and here we have again a bridge. We have, let's guess, do you know how many bridges do we have here in Paris? Paris with Amsterdam, because Amsterdam, I was there in October for my birthday, and they told me before doing a cruise tour of the river, they told me that they had almost 200 bridges in Amsterdam. So well, I think it's better. It's nice having 37. We have a nice number over there. So on your left you have a monster. This time just close to the the Louvre. On your left you have Le Musée d'Orsay. Can you see it on your left? Le musée d'Orsay, ladies and gentlemen, a monster of the Impressionism. Van Gogh, Renoir, Pissarro, Claude Monet. All of those painters are inside. Berthe Morisot, that came in the 19th century, revolutionizing, the art movement here, the art history here in France. And, bringing over there a new way of painting. The light as well, how to paint, to represent light, in paintings, and as well painting a lot the landscape. Continue straight because now we're on the left bank of the Seine River. Of course, on the left you have those very famous statues, those very famous ministers of the French political story. And now we're going to pass by this time. They used to say that it's the most beautiful bridge in Paris. The Alexander III Bridge. The one that you can see on your right with the 4 golden statues. Alexandre was built in 1893 by Alexander III. The son of Alexander III, Nicholas II. And you know that the Tsar, Nicholas II, was the one that was murdered by the Bolsheviks, during the Russian Revolution. But ladies and gentlemen, just in front of that very famous, the greatest century, the great century, le grand siècle, the 17th century. That's why, now I'm doing this tour in English. But if we were in the 17th century, ladies and gentlemen, that one would be in French, because French was the international language at that time. And that one was thanks to Louis XIV, Louis XIV, ladies and gentlemen. On your left, you have Les Invalides, the mansion of the disabled. Louis XIV was a man of war, and he used to win all of the battles that he took part. Ladies and gentlemen, 72 years of reigning, one of the longest ones in history. 32 years of war. And after, seeing that his soldiers were, became, they didn't have a house, so that's why he said to order like a big mansion for them to rest inside. Maximum 5,000 of soldiers they could be inside, they could fit inside. Les Invalides, the mansion of the disabled. At the back, there is a golden chapel, the Saint-Louis des Invalides. This chapel, Saint Louis of the Invalids, just here. And inside as well you have the Museum of the Army, the French Army. As you can see, it's written over there, Musée de l'Armée, of the Army here. And we're going to just pass by. I will see outside. We can nearly see it, not so much because that one is between, triangular trees. So I will ask you to look on your left, not now, but when I will tell you, okay? Because it's between, the trees, and it's black. You will see, not here, but after. You will see it in a few seconds. You will see the Rodin Museum. The Rodin Museum, you will see, the most famous masterpiece of Rodin, the thinker of Rodin, that sculpture. Can you see on your left? You will see some those trees, triangular trees, and you can see the thinker on the left outside now between the trees. Now on the left, can you see it? That's the thinker of Rodin, a very famous one in the world. And on your right, this time, let's resume my story about the Golden Chapel. Inside, you even have like a cafe, the red cafe where you can, if you want to get go to the toilet, of course. We have a lot of time in front of us.